Hello and welcome to my next big mess test, and on this occasion, as I said in the review of my machine here in the last video I did, I would be putting this Vax to this test. I want to see how its Cyclone system copes with it. And after I do it, I wanted to have a look at the filter in the top here, and if I had enough time to just take the top of that Cyclone system off to have a look inside the collector here, because I'd highlighted some issues with the problem with the design on this. It might not happen straight away, which is a problem because I cleaned this out beforehand. I shouldn't really have done. I should have left this as it was and showed it how it gets inside here. You see, it all clogs up in the Cyclones. But we will see how it does anyway, and like I say on previous ones, if it does fail, then I will have to get the... I usually keep the Kirby down here in the corner of the room. One small update on the dogs next door. I've been and had a word with her just after I made that last video, because I needed to have a word and find out about those dogs that were constantly barking, and it's her parents' dogs. She's looking after the dogs for her parents, so hopefully we shouldn't have to put up with the dogs barking on my videos. They're all right now. She's took them in the house and given them the dinner. They're on holiday, so she's looking after her parents' dogs, and they've got a bit of separation anxiety because they miss their owners, and they don't like it when she goes out and leaves them on her own. So hopefully we shouldn't get any more trouble with dogs after Monday. So they're not all, as I say, not all dogs are as well behaved as Roger's, Molly and Daisy, who are model dogs. They are film stars, and everybody loves Molly and Daisy, and everyone loves Roger because he's great. And I'll give a shout out as well to Hooverlux, who has just put a new video on his channel all about a Vax turbo brush. He went and bought it from Lidl's for 15 quid, and he was doing this demonstration over on his channel on the carpet, and he brought out his what I would call the I just pinch Roger's phrase and call it the bag of filth, and he brought out his Mad About Mess box and said it was named after me. So I'm very flattered and very privileged, so thank you, Dorian, for that. I am mad about mess, because here it all is on the carpet waiting for this. So I shall be mad about the big mess test anyway. If this doesn't pass, the other one will have to come out. So let's bring the camera and show you what the mess is on the carpet, as I normally would, because this basically is exactly the same mess as I would have for every other cleaner that's done this test so far, which is basically a lot of grit, a lot of cat litter, there's rice particles, there's porridge particles, there's corn flour, there is household dust, because I've put the contents of old dust bags in this as well and broken them up and scattered them all over the carpet, which this consists of everything in the dust bag of the SIBO, which had been collected up over a few months, and it's pet hairs and carpet fluff, and essentially there's nothing in here that would deliberately clog a cleaner up. This is all just basically household dust and fine and heavy particles, which most vacuum cleaners so far have actually managed to pass this test. So I'm not really sure about this machine. It will probably suck it up, but it's how that filter's going to look afterwards. It may surprise me. I don't know. We'll have to see. So, as we did with the last one, I'll set the camera up on the top here, and we will focus down, because I think that gives the best view, and it shows the dirt going into the Cyclone on the machine as well, which it's quite impressive sometimes when you see that dirt going in and all spinning round in the Cyclone. Tayab Parwaz, whose channel's Parwaz786, did a really good video on his channel about the a session he had at his local mosque when he took his two Dysons up there to do some cleaning up there, and he had a DC41 Mark II and he had a DC17. Yeah, that's right, a DC17, which is an American cleaner that was imported from the US over to the UK. Obviously it has to run on a 110 volt transformer. But he did this mosque, and because people go and pray in there and they remove all the shoes and footwear, there's a lot of fine dust in the carpets which had built up over the years, and you could see that dust going round in the Cyclone as it was pulling it out, and it was quite fantastic really. I do love the action that you see in the bin when they pick up a lot of fine dirt. This is really impressive, the cyclonic action. But let's stop babbling, let's get on with it. So, this is the Vax Air 3. This is the Agile version, but basically they're all pretty much the same, just different length of hoses and different types of tools that come with them. It's part of the older Air 3 range with the swivel neck. So, without further ado, let's go. So, as in all the tests I've done before, what we're going to be doing is when that bin reaches the max line here, to avoid having the dirt all over the shroud, which is obviously going to clog it, it's not designed to take up more than the max line. So it's an unfair penalising the cleaner by making it pick up more than what it's designed to pick up. So I will be emptying the bin, and we're doing that every time it's full. And on this machine that'll be quite often because it's only a small bin. And again, much the same as the other machines, I have to get my hand up inside to get the dirt off the from at the top. Right, so let's go again. So as you can see again, it's full again. Doesn't take long. That's that one. Yes, you guessed it. It's full again, up to the max line. So this is the third emptying now. It really doesn't hold very much at all, this doesn't. I can imagine doing this on the Dyson light ball, because that would need emptying just as often, but I won't be doing big mess tests on the light ball or the big ball because they are under warranty. and I can't be seen by Dyson to be treating them in any way that would be considered to be abuse, because it would invalidate the warranty I have on them. Full again. We'll empty it one more time and that should be it. Should be able to cope with the whatever's left. Right, so on the first pass through all that dirt, basically it's not done a very wonderful job on there, so we'll have to basically go over all this again until it's clear. we go. Just get my screwdriver. So, it has got all the dirt up, which I had a feeling it might, but the question is what's it done to the filtration system inside? So, we're going looking at the carpet here, again, much as on the previous ones, and yes, it does appear to have got everything out, but bear in mind that this is a 1200 watt machine. This is not the 700 watt ones that they offer now. This is one that had a much more powerful motor in, so that could have had a bearing on the fact that it did quite well. It's not an eco machine, this one, it's the pre-EU version, and I think it's done a reasonably good job on the carpets, but we did start off with a clean Cyclone system in there, and clean bin and clean filter, so let me just get my screwdriver and torch should we need it. So the bin, much as on previous machines, the shroud itself has obviously got a fair amount of clogging in, but when I emptied this machine, a fair bit of this was coming off each time off there when I tipped the bottom out. So it was partially clearing itself each time, but each time you can see how the dirt has got adhered again to the shroud and clogged the holes. So even these would lose some kind of suction, and I think even the Dysons would as well, because the shroud on those would clog in exactly the same way. When Tayab did his DC-41 in the mosque, you could see just how much there was clinging to the shroud, and eventually it actually lost suction because the shroud was completely clogged. And then when he showed in the bin on the filter, that was quite dirty as well. So once this gets clogged and it slows down the activity in the Cyclones, that's not going to help. So let's open the top and have a look. Right then, I'd imagine it'll probably be quite clean. Yes, it is to start with. All we can see there is there is fine dust on there. It's gone a lot greyer than what it was, and there is always this small amount of fluff that starts to come through. I don't know whether the Cyclones will be actually clogged at the moment, because it probably hasn't filled up the chamber at the bottom. Let's take the top off. I wish I had the. I really must get another electric screw. I keep saying I will, but I never get round to it. The electric screwdriver I could do with a new one. So yeah, on this occasion, it's actually you can see inside the Cyclones there the fine dust around them. I'm sure the autofocus on this camera isn't as good as it used to be. You know, it seems to be taking longer now to respond to the changes. I've noticed when I've played back some of these videos, they do appear out of focus a lot more, and I'm really hoping this camera isn't on its way out, so we can take these screws out as well. I think there's only 3 in the bottom of here. So what basically happens is that when the Cyclones, there's the bottoms of them there, okay, when we take out the Cyclone assembly, and they all discharge into these holes in the bottom, and essentially that is the collector ring, and we can actually remove that collector ring from there. What I'll do is put this on the tripod while I do that. We should have just enough time left on the end of this video. Because I want to show what it looks like in the side of here. The idea of this collection ring is it's supposed to fall into here and then slip down that sort of slide into the fine dust tube in the centre. Whereas the Vax Air originals didn't have this collector at the bottom. The Cyclones just discharged straight into the fine dust tube, and there wasn't any problem with clogging on that. It was actually a very good system. take these out, and these out. And there we have it. Okay? There is basically where the cyclones discharge into. And what happens is that over time, probably take a few months in normal use, but that actually fills up completely. That does. And what happens when that's full is the cyclones then, which are here, don't have anywhere to discharge their dirt into. So they start to back up. And then that filter gets clogged up very, very quickly indeed, because the cyclones have effectively stopped working. So it becomes like a single cyclonic. But what's supposed to happen is that this is supposed to all fall down that tube there. Okay? But as the dirt gets compacted in here, it actually doesn't. It doesn't all fall down there. It just carries on accumulating in here, in this collector. So all in all, I mean, you can see the fine dust there. The cyclones do actually work, and they do actually separate the dirt out. There isn't a problem with the cyclones themselves. The problem is with this collector bin at the bottom. It doesn't work in practice how it's supposed to. Because you get all the fine dust in here as well, and there goes the cap. Because you get all the fine dust and fluff that comes into here, it sort of binds itself together and becomes a bit of quite a solid compacted mass in there. So when you empty the machine, when you think that this tube here is empty, it isn't, because it's all in here. So there we see the major design problem with that machine. And this camera once again is not focusing. It's taken ages to focus, isn't it? I can only apologise about this. If it carries on doing it and gets worse, I'm going to have to replace the camera. And this camera's not all that old either. What brand is it? It's a Panasonic DMC TZ35, for anybody that's wondering. And they're supposed to be quite a good camera. And it's set on HD, MP4 25p. It's not the fullest resolution this camera will do, because if I did that, there'd be like 3 gigabytes per video, and it would take it would fill my computer hard drive up very quickly with videos, and as it is, they take half an hour to upload a half an hour video at this resolution. So if I doubled the resolution again, it would take at least an hour to upload each video at 5 meg upload speed that I've got on broadband. It's 100 meg download, but only 5 meg upload. It used to be only 1 meg here, so it would have taken forever to upload these videos. So I never used to bother in the past. It took too long to upload. As soon as Virgin, they upgraded my speed, it's become a lot easier now to upload YouTube videos within half an hour for a half an hour video like this. But what I can't be having is the camera not focusing properly. So there we go. The Vax has picked the dirt up, the cyclones have separated it out, but the problem is there. And it's not noticeable straight away, so when people buy these from Argos and do reviews, they don't know about this problem until they've had it for a while, until that's all filled up with dirt. And they wouldn't know about that unless they actually did what I did here and completely disassembled the cyclone, all the screws. Not very good really, is it? Another bad design from Vax. Very disappointing. If those cyclone tubes there had discharged straight into that central tube without having to go through this part first, this collector ring, that wouldn't have been an issue. And it wasn't on the Vax Mac Air originals. But like I said, some of them did have that issue where the cyclone assembly kept lifting up inside the bin and breaking that seal at the bottom, which is basically this grommet here has to be tightly sealed against the bottom of the bin door. If it isn't and raises up slightly, the dirt enters the tube from there instead, goes up to the top through the cyclones and clogs them up on the filter. Vax just, you know, they really do need to test their machines more. It's all very well to keep releasing new models every 5 minutes, but if they're not tested properly, it's no wonder that people get given bad reviews and they're not happy with the machines. You know, people might think that I'm unfairly criticising Vax Air, but I've had a lot of machines from them and I've seen problems with them and I'm documenting it here. Every video I'm doing now, I am showing people the proof of what happens with these machines. They think they're getting a bargain. You know, oh, they're much cheaper than Dyson's and better than Dyson's, but at least Dyson's know how to separate properly. Their filters stay clean. The cyclones actually work in their machines. I ain't quite sure about the kinetic. There are controversies over the kinetic. There are videos on the internet that say that kinetics let dirt through and contaminate the exhaust filters. They're very few and far between, but there is that element of doubt. It's one of the reasons really why I would go with a Dyson with a filter. This machine, I've used it a fair bit now since I've had it. It's picking up the fine dust absolutely lovely. Because the filter mesh on here, the shroud is only very fine. A lot more fine dust actually appears in this container first before going into the Cyclone. But if I have a look at the filter, I've never cleaned this so far. There's an example, right, of how good a Dyson Cyclone can be. This has had use so far. There isn't really a speck of dust on there, is there? Now, as long as you keep that shroud clean, right, on a Dyson, if you let that shroud get dirty, it slows down the airflow and that filter will start to get dirty quicker. So when you empty that bin, as long as you brush that shroud down, you haven't even got to wash it, it's just a case of brush the shroud with the dusting brush. That's all you've got to do. Remove that white, the clear bin, brush the shroud down, and you will find that filter should stay fairly clean. You haven't got to keep washing that every month like they say. I can't see that. As long as you maintain it, empty it when it gets to the max line, and brush that shroud down, yeah, okay, it's a bit of work, but it's a bagless cleaner. They're all the same. They have to have maintenance. The kinetic ones, they have shrouds just the same. If that shroud gets dirty, it's still going to need cleaning, because the shroud effectively, it's a filter. The finer the meshes on that shroud, the more like a filter it becomes. So you aren't cleaning this filter, you're cleaning that one. But that's an awful lot less bother to clean, because you've got to just brush it down. You haven't got to wash it and wait for a day for it to dry. It takes 10 seconds to brush that shroud down. That's all you need to do. But the problem with the Vax isn't with the shroud, it's actually with the Cyclones themselves. The Cyclone assembly gets clogged and makes them effectively useless. And then you'll be forever washing that filter and wondering why. That's the reason. So, a little bit of a ramble there at the end of the big mess test. It's done the test, it's picked the stuff up. There isn't a problem there. The problem with the separation system on this, and the Vax Air 3 range in general. So until the next time, I will bid you farewell. Bye for now.